would offer up for the channel that Lyle would provide for me is that these people would do it live, because there's plenty of archived material that I've curated on each one of these people that connect back to their strongholds. The University of UCLA, General Bray with the military, Keisha with public and private sector economic development, Lemur with startup, and Lou with broadcast spectrum. Each one of those modules that they would then represent, I've got plenty of content on them. And then obviously to synthesize what it is that I could do to bring on stuff from Rick Presley and Lyle Alexander, I'd have you guys speak and teach and create an awareness around other things that you can bring to bear that would offer up career pathways for students, especially in advanced manufacturing or telco. And, or you find any subject matter that you think would be interesting enough to build a module around. And if we had 15 weeks, we'd have 15 speakers and 15 modules, and each one of them could offer a certification. And that's what Dakar would offer up as a thing called a career exploration of all the things known and unknown to most folks who are job hirers, that these people would have this wealth of understanding of how the world works, how economics work, how distribution works, how the business of business, kind of the Internet of Things for people to become futurists on next level economics. So that's kind of what I look at the outcome being. And all of this stuff would be cloud-based, so that all the tools and all the things that are available are in the cloud. And literally it would be a much more robust accelerator, incubator that is not constricted by all the things that the normal accelerator incubator has got to be, again, grounded. And what I discussed with Keisha just briefly was that Lacey, the accelerator incubator that LADWP has invested in, gave them the real estate to build out this lab accelerator so that the physical place would allow everybody to actually build, design, and test their prototypes. And she asked me, well, how could we duplicate that if it was in the cloud? So all of their software is in a library where you go into a computer lab and everybody can work on, the different things they need to, again, further produce the prototype, test it. She said, well, how could you do that in a virtual environment where you need a physical space in order to actually cobble and tinker your experiments, your creations? So that's the one question I had to use that she asked me, is how could that accelerator incubator be in the cloud and be virtual?
Well, just my knee-jerk reaction to that, Kevin, is some of the things would be able to, well, let me put it like this. If we're filling a salt shaker, that don't need we can definitely do that through a training system to demonstrate the path or procedure that they need to take, and that could be done at home. If they're building a V8 engine, they probably don't have the tools to build that V8 engine, even if they had the components. So that would need to be in a physical location. But think about this is what we saw with the system, is if they're learning the who, what, when, where, and how prior to putting their hand on that tool, it makes it a lot faster in that lab, right? You're not wasting a lot of time in that lab because that student already understands the who, what, when, where, and how, right? They've been through it visually, because see, there's two types of learners. There's audio learners, and there's visual learners, right? That's what, I don't know if you caught it, but I said the second step was to download first person affirmation documentation. Okay, We're
I got
telling them
this.
they deserve it. They can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. Right? To build up what is a lot of times the stumbling block is someone's poor self-image. Okay. Now, my self-image is not what I think of myself. It's not what you think of me. It's what I think you think of me. So we eliminate that through the training system, and they don't even know it. Same way we're getting rid of white coat syndrome while you sit down at that Higgy, what you know as a Higgy machine or a blood pressure cuff, right? We deliver content on that screen that takes your mind off of and prevents you from creating what is called white coat syndrome. Okay.
Okay.
Because the first thing you do is you sit down and in your mind, you're taking a test of your health. And the first thing the body autonomic system does is shut down blood flow to the peripherals to make sure your vital organs have blood. And every human body is going to do that unless you create the content that takes their mind off of that. They're in a learning experience. We're delivering the content that we need to deliver to them in the manner based on, we hadn't even talked about this, but everybody has 3 egos and a red, yellow, blue, or green degree of each one of those egos. So it's like a 3-level chessboard, right? We develop the content to appeal to each one of those, either your youth, your adult, or your parent ego. They don't even know that's happening, but we know what are the triggers to the responses of each one of those personalities. So we run personalysis into that training system to appeal to whether you're. Let me give it. This is oversimplified, okay, but it's going to give you a visual, okay.
Right, and your audio is a little off. Can you?
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
I got you, loud and clear. I'm recording this for one specific group of instructors and administrators at the college level.
Okay.
Because they're my clients. If I'm your client, they're my clients.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
I'm going to give you an example of washing a car. Okay, and the 4 different personalities, the 4 different child personalities that come into play. Now, your child personality is you. When you come under stress, when you come under pressure, you're going to revert back to your child personality, your child ego. Okay, and red, yellow, blue, and green. I'm going to explain a red personality washing a car. I go out and I show them how to wash that car. I start at the top. I wash the top first. I wash the sides. I wash the other sides. Then I wash the wheels. That red personality is going to say, okay, I see it. I understand how to do it. Get out of my way. I'm going to go do it. Right? He's a go-getter. He's an alpha. He's a self-starter. Okay. You have a yellow personality. I take you out and show you how to wash that car. He's a social butterfly. He's going to go around and get all of his friends to help him wash that car. You know people like that. They're born social butterflies. Okay. That red personality don't really care what you even think about the rest of those people. He's going to go do it himself. You go to the blue personality, the blue ego, and that blue ego is very creative. I mean, they're very stubborn and they're very creative. And that's some of what you've seen before in our previous conversations about the personalities involved here, right? Very creative. But buddy, they really don't care what you think about it. Okay. They're going to create the inspiration for them to wash that car. They're going to get a special sponge or they're going to get a special bucket to do it, and they're going to wash it in a way that makes them feel good. Now the green ego, they're bean counters. that they'll demand the bacteria count on the milk of human kindness. And they're going to figure out exactly how many seconds it's going to take them to wash that car, right? So you take all of those personalities, all of those egos in a child, in a parent, and in an adult ego, and we can tell where each one of those snowflakes, because it's 6 points on 4 corners on 3 levels. So everybody's individual. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And that's what I've learned about the educational systems that I work in, is that there is one way, there's one strategy for all the educational systems to teach, and they don't have a way to teach to those learners who learn the way that they learn and process the way they process. So you get a one size fits all, and
one size don't fit all.
I know, but that's the way they teach.
Right. No, I totally understand and totally agree. And that's why, I mean, years ago, we were using the Personalysis to deliver email to our recipients. And we delivered based on their profile, if we knew their profile. If we didn't, we distributed all of them because we knew what would trigger each ego. And that's why the response was so much more, because there's visual learners and there's audio learners, right? Well, we got to take those in a in a virtual world, and we got to we got to deliver our message in the way that they need to receive it to get them to respond the way we know they will respond. Right?
Yeah. Right.
So therefore we can cut down and increase, because we're audio and video in the virtual world, right? And in their mind's eye, we're drawing what they need to do. They're seeing that. So they've already done it once, okay? They're downloading the first person affirmation documentation to support the video of whatever the content is that they just watched. It really don't matter, okay? And then the third task, and we're checking all of this, right? They can even go in and see where they're at in the hierarchy, what step they're on. and you as the moderator or the content provider can see where each student is every step of the way. We know what they've done and what they hadn't done. We don't have to see whether they've run off and chased a rabbit down a rabbit hole, because they can't get to the next module until they complete the step to get to the next module.
Exactly. And all of this data that you can collect can be manipulated for forecasting. Not only at the culminating graduating, but you can actually give someone, as you said, on all the systems, you can give them some indicators of their health and their performance before we get to the end of the semester.
Absolutely.
And those are the things, those predictors don't have to come randomly from anything else other than the data that would allow everybody to understand how to get these learners to get better at what unique or disparities that they are working at, so that they reach a level individually, but they still reach the level at the standard for which we need them to get that certification, and apply it to something that we can make sure that they can pitch it. Because that's one part of the experiential learning, is that aside from just taking the test, you now have to present to a group of people assembled who will really understand that you have interpreted, applied everything you've learned to run and design and build a product or a program or something. And that skill set is what I believe is going to set these learners apart from all of the other people who don't do anything else other than go through the same rabbit hole that says that you get a degree and you're learning based on what everybody else has learned for the last 100 years.
Let me share this with you, and I got this from my 4th grade math teacher. I can tell you that we have only had 100% graduates of that training system. Now that's a bold statement because there ain't no university on the planet that can say that. But I had a 4th grade teacher that only had straight A students. Now think about that. You probably never seen another teacher like that either, right?
Mm-mm.
Well, here's her mentality. What was her responsibility for being in that classroom in the first place?
My guess is as good as yours. I mean, I know that
is to teach those students, right, the content that she was put there to, whether she was a math teacher or science teacher or whatever, it didn't matter. That was her responsibility, is to teach the students, right?
Right.
Well, let's say that I was not one of the best students, okay, in the 4th grade, but I was pretty good at math. But she gives me a test, and I hand that test in, and I miss 5 questions on that test. Well, a normal teacher would count that depending on how many questions there were and give me a grade from A to F, and that was it. But she figured her responsibility was to teach that content to that student. And if that student didn't get 5 of those questions, it was her fault. So she handed it back to the student, and he was to redo those 5. If he got 3 of them right and 2 of them wrong, and she would hand it back to him again. We got every one of those math problems correct. And that was the first responsibility of hers anyway, was to make sure that I understood how to do the math problem, right?
Right. Right.
So she had straight A students. That's what led us to create that training system in the same manner. You're not going to get to module 2 until we know as providers and you know as a participant that you understand to 100% competency before you're given the key to move on to the next module. But
well, if that is the nexus lexus of this exercise, is that the competency is to be measured well before the outcome, and there's checks and balances to make sure that competency is brought up to 100% for straight A. That is what the deliverable will be based on how this thing is implemented. I think that can be a game changer, and how everybody who's going to be in this ecosystem says, well, yeah, if you guys can do this and it results in a certification, that certification is not just a certification, it's a certification of 100% competency of all the things that they were exposed to. And so
that's verification of the content that you're trying to provide. Now, just think about that, putting that on SiloCloud, or putting that on Persona. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, and the functionality is whatever the customer or the content provider wants it to be, because we can program that.
Right. So I'll leave you with this, and this is a quote that a gentleman from Apple, who is a distinguished educator, gave me. He's now left Apple and he's now working with an online college who is really innovative, and they're doing everything they can to reverse engineer the way community colleges and universities teach learners about how to get to these certifications, these micro certifications and these badges. But he said that if we teach today's students as we taught yesterday, we rob them of tomorrow. John Dewey.
This I can guarantee you. Okay. You supply the content, and if you got the customer to pay for the development of the training system and the channels, we can guarantee 100% graduation.
Competency, 100% competency. Yeah. So that's what the value proposition is. 100%. So everybody, if we did a cohort of 30 people, all 30 people will get 100% competency of what we're exposing them to. And it won't just be a certification, it'll be a certification of 100% competency. That is a position statement.
Unless they quit.
Yeah. And everything that I've been told is if they don't put any skin in the game, they probably will quit, because it's called challenge-based and performance-based learning, which they have never been exposed to.
Well, see, here's if they're going down a channel that they have interest in, we're keeping them engaged. You know, we're not. How many times, think about this, Kevin? How many times did you go to sleep in one of those classes when you were in school? Okay. You weren't engaged. You didn't have interest in it, right? So if they're engaged and they got interest in the subject matter that you're trying to deliver, we're a measuring stick. Okay. That's all A-cardios is. That's what led me into A-cardios. We're a measuring stick of your cardiovascular system. Nowhere else in the world are you going to get that type of measuring on a non-invasive basis. You can't get it anywhere in the world, and I challenge you to go find it. It ain't there.
Right.
Okay.
Well, so your way of thinking is what I want to challenge the procurers to say, find some other training program or system that is deployed in the way that we're going to deploy it, and we will give it to you for free, or I'll pay for it. So that's really what I want them to do, because again, they're going to look for the operator of this delivery of training and the system that it's riding on. They're going to look for somebody to design it, run it, implement it end to end. And that's what they'll pay for. And if there is a outcome of the 30 students in the pilot program and the charter program getting not only the certification, but showing how it was measuring the competency and the steps it took to get them that competency, as even something that's even proprietary to how it's done, they will say, oh my goodness, okay, all right, let's scale this thing. Because that's what they really would like to stand behind, is that, yeah, we got the certifications, but we can measure their competency ratio of taking everything step by step. So
Absolutely.
that there is step by step. So measurement, accountability, and all the things in between.
Break it down into bite-sized modules, okay? And walk that participant, doesn't matter the age, we walk that participant down a primrose path. We already know what's at the end. If they get to the end, they just graduated.
Right. Okay. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this recording and I'm going to make sure that each one of the people understand that this is the minimum viable product, is a training program that provides the competency testing steps to guarantee and measure these people's performance before any culminating event or activity takes place.
Let me ask you
again. Sure.
Let me ask you this for so that they are getting, so that the customer, the end customer, whoever's providing the content, gets the best bang for their buck. Okay. If this was used as a pre-course, and how much time would they be able to save, not wasting time on students that really weren't interested? What if this was an entry-level qualification?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that is very important to the mentor who is volunteering their time
Exactly.
to this pool of talent to shake out all the people who are wasting their time.
Exactly. I
So
mean,
that is the,
you start quantifying that for a university and volunteers. I don't know that you could put a accurate, high enough dollar value to that.
yeah. There is. It's priceless. Priceless. Absolutely priceless.
That's right.
Okay. All right. So I'm glad I recorded this. Why would I remember otherwise? So the agenda for Friday for Keisha, I will invite Juno Bray. I will petition the other two people, Lemur Walker. I'll send you LinkedIn on those two, Lemur Walker from Valence and Lou Libben from Spectrum, from Sinclair Broadcasting and Spectrum Allocation. Because again, I just want to make sure that everybody is going to give this the time and energy to really understand what we are just purporting is that the measurement of everybody's time and everybody's performance will be on the table. Okay.
Right.
So
one thing that I would ask you to do is those links that I sent you, especially the PDFs. I sent you 2 PDFs. It's a part 1 and part 2. I don't know if you've had a chance to view those. But,
no, I haven't.
Okay. If you would view those and forward those 2 PDFs to the general.
Okay.
Because that's going to give him a better understanding. He was a little, I think we hit him a little bit on the blind side but I guarantee you that since he disclosed and shared that he was part of the development, but what he was part of was really rudimentary to what we can do now.
Okay. Right. Well, and I thought that he could add some value to all the time and energy you spent thus far, and may be willing to spend a little bit more on some developmental things before we find somebody who's willing to pay for any prototype that we can put to the procurement departments that he can get to. But he can get to them. I think he just has to be able to be the author of how he can pitch it to these people in the language in which he's accustomed to pitching things to the procurement people. Because I know he's time tested on. Sorry, go ahead.
If he would like to be a part of helping save lives, I'd welcome him.
Okay. All right. So I think that's why we need to spend a little bit more time on a different shelf than the rest of these folks, because he's only helping Dakar because he really believes in what I'm doing for the greater good, but his talents would be wasted if we didn't give him another session on all the things he's doing.
Well, that's why I was saying, Kevin, if give him more than the 2 times that you have for Keisha, because I really.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think he just needs his own session. He really does.
Yeah, a lot of times and I don't mind doing another session for him, because I would really like to drill down into the functionality of what he has no idea can be done.
Yeah, well, the things you shared with me would light up the room with possibilities that if he understood them clearly, he could be the person that you'd like to have on your team.
Absolutely.
Because he can open doors, but because of his influence, but if he understood it, there's no limitations to what he could do.
Well, do me a favor, Kevin, because this is going to be this is good feedback for me. If you will, it's probably going to take you 20 minutes or so to go through those 2 PDFs. If you would go through them, I would like for you to give me a call back after you viewed them and tell me your understanding of the content.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay.
I can't do it today. I'm challenged today, but I think tomorrow's Thursday, right? I think tomorrow I'll dedicate the time to really taking a look and then having a session with you so that I can be clear on what it is you want me to understand, so I could potentially be a representation of what it is that General Bray would even question me. Well, what are we talking about? And what are we doing? Because he will challenge me that way before he spends, any of his time.
That's fine. I love it, because
Right.
definitely don't want to waste his time and don't have time to waste.
Right.
So
Right. So what I'm auditioning really for is a marketing rep for you, because I have other people like General Bray who are in procurement positions.
Okay.
And if we're really talking about trying to find the people who desperately need these solutions, not just have money, then as you said, to save lives, I want to be proficient at really making sure I hit the mark.
Let me, while we're on here, I'm going to flip the camera around and show you our studio. I don't think you've seen it, have you?
I've seen bits and pieces of it, but I can't remember. I mean, it's been a while since Lyle's.
Yeah, it's okay.
Let's see. Yeah, okay.
This is our control room.
And this is in Oklahoma, right?
Yes, this is in Tulsa. Okay. This is the control room. We've got 3 mobile studios. This is one that controls 8 cameras. That's another one that controls 8 additional cameras. And that's another one that controls an additional 8 cameras. Wow. All these are mobile.
What are these cameras capturing? Or what are these cameras supposed to capture?
Anything remotely in the field. This is one of our, if you see, everything is green screen. Mm-hmm. So that means we can put any content on that green screen on all of these walls. All 4K or 6K cameras, along with teleprompters as well. And we've got the conference table sort of full of stuff that just came in, but all those are green screened as well. And here's actually the anchor desk. And then another station as well.
Okay, so this is a studio. This is
either Noise Divine, RP Digital, or ARS.
Right. So this studio facilitates what broadcast programming?
We're doing podcasts currently from here. We also can lease it out to different customers.
Okay.
And the podcast is now syndicated. Here is our newspapers. We do a bi-weekly newspaper, a monthly magazine, and a daily. If you go to Persona Digest, you'll see the monthly magazine. And if you go to Persona Post, you'll see daily news, world news that you won't hear other places.
Okay. Nice.
So anyway.
Nice. Well, and so this helps me because what Keisha has offered up is some space in the Hollywood, LA zip codes that are connecting to a lot of economic development, but also are in the proximity of the creative tech community, especially the folks in creative, because Hollywood is the epicenter for a lot of the programming that's going to come out. But they obviously are interested, and I also would say sports. Inglewood, California is going to become possibly the epicenter for sports slash entertainment in the country, because we're going to have the NFL Super Bowl next year. We're going to have the NBA finals. We're going to have the 2028 Olympics, and literally a ton of other high-end activities that will be global happening in this zip code. So that's why I want to showcase what Lyle has in Oklahoma as a potential satellite somewhere in Inglewood, California, or South LA, because that's where you're going to be able to do the socializing and the networking, so that people will understand that the technological advancements that you guys have produced for OTT, IP over TV, edge servers, cloud, all of those things will be more, I guess, appreciated if they could see, touch, smell it right here in the zip code where I'm standing. That's the importance of it. It's great to have the flagship somewhere where it's functional for you guys, but what happens and what works here in LA, just like you drove from, you know, wherever it was in the South to Long Beach, California, this is where people come to get that flash and dash.
Did you see that video?
Yes, I did. That's why I said it's probably a reason why. That's how I learn, is when I see the video, the story, the voice, video, and data in the story. That's where I, you know, kind of was able to remember the things that, you know, kind of resonated more with me than the flat 2D media with the PDF that I looked at, because I wanted to see the story. And that's the reason why being here in LA is so important, because you have the Emmys, the Grammys, and the Oscars. Because when people think about media, ad tech, all those things, the pinnacle of why everybody does these things is to have award-winning programming. And that's where LA gives you that kind of cachet, because everybody wants to be where the award-winning people are. And I'm not saying that it's fair, or it's even saleable as something, but it's where the press and all the publicity and the media stirs all this stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I offer in LA to Lyle, is stuff that you can't buy.
Right.
So when you go, when you think about anything that you're talking about here, even if it's healthcare, if it's advanced manufacturing, you put this storytelling, award-winning atmosphere around this thing. It does become atmospheric. It is the kind of stuff that people will spend more advertising dollars on, and more affinity types of things than they would anywhere else in the world. That's and it's not fair, but it's the way it is.
Yeah, so no problem.
So I'm good. So I will look at those PDFs and I'll give it the same attention I did at the video. But I promise you, if the PDFs are that important to you, we got to make sure that they become 3D and put some music and some other stuff around it, and people will say, "Oh my God, okay, I didn't know."
Yeah,
that's unfortunate, but that's the way I would really create more values. If I saw the 2D stuff to turn into 3D and 4D, then you've got something that will get everybody, including celebrities, to say, "Hey, how can I rep this?"
Right.
Okay.
Well,
all right.
If you will forward that to the general, I'd appreciate it, because that's going to give him a better understanding of what he could be a part of. And the other LinkedIn, I know I mentioned it the other day, but right now I'm drawing a blank. Was I supposed to reach out to those people through LinkedIn?
No, I haven't explained to anybody what it is they're supposed to do next. So
okay.
I'm just doing these dogs and pony introductions so that we can find consensus, that we can all try to do something either together or separate.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
All right, sir. You have a great
right.
rest of the day.
Okay, and I'll hit you tomorrow for the call back on the PDF.
Okay, fantastic. God
Okay,
bless.
thank you,
Talk to
Rick.
you later,
Thank
buddy.
you, Rick. All right, now,
Bye-bye.
thank you.